Well, thank you very much for accepting this invite to the interview, Melina.
My
That's very
pleasure.
kind of you. This video might reach people that neither you nor me know. So I believe we can start with a brief introduction. Please let us know a little bit about you and your background.
Of course. So I'm a behavioral scientist and decision scientist, which means basically that I help people, professionals, make better decisions for themselves, but also to understand how other people make decisions and to help them make the right ones. But by other people, we can mean colleagues, customers, and so on. And the premise of this is that how our brains work, how we make decisions. Most of us, the vast majority of us, didn't have the opportunity to learn in school or later in university. So as the science of decision making evolves, we are not so much aware of it, which is a shame because decision making is everything, right? Whether we mean organizational performance or our own decisions in personal life, which means if we make the right decisions, they are the ones that are aligned with our values and the ones that will take us down the path that we want to get to. But without understanding, like the very fundamental things, like the fact that our brains have evolved to make decisions in two ways, both fast and slow. So, and we can control that thing to some extent, and we can decide how we can decide in certain ways that behavioral science and decision science teach us. And we can decide that in order to reach better decisions. So this is the work I do. I started as a mathematician, so very analytical background, mathematics and economics. And over the years, with my MBA, working in different corporations, so the big question came to me that mathematics doesn't solve problems on its own, and actually a lot of the economic models that we rely on that portray the rational person that makes decisions with consistent preferences and clear preferences and all these capabilities of the mind, that is not the reality. And this is how I discovered later in life with my PhD the science of decision making, which is essentially behavioral science. So I come to combine decision science and behavioral science to help us read, if you like, that rational prototype that we're expected to behave. Of course, we cannot never be like fully rational or perfect, but getting closer and more aligned to what we want as people and as organizations.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Let me now synthesize where I am coming from. So you and I and our viewers can understand why are we having this conversation today together. I have an engineering background, and I worked for many years for Shell. And while doing so, I went through different positions, evolving from technical to commercial, consulting, and so forth. I studied business administration as well. And I also had a big impact when I was mature in my career, as you did when you went through your PhD, and that I get involved in the decision-making world or decision quality world because I was hired by a company that was specialized in designing and developing a very specific decision support software. They developed this technology addressing the tough decisions that the oil and gas industry has when they need to decide whether to develop or to explore a field. And the uncertainties are very obvious because nobody knows what's behind the ground, right? And therefore, they became very experts in that. It's an industry that manages uncertainty and is forced to make high quality decisions because the cost of suboptimal decisions could be terrific or terrible. And then I get involved in this technology, in this methodology, and now I co-founded and I am directing my company, dScerner, which is offering to the market a decision support software, which is based on objects and rules, and that helps teams to represent their complex projects to better understand the dynamics, probably to discover the biases that are influencing their decisions, and to run multiple simulations. That is why we call it a probabilistic modeling and simulation tool, to get hold of the whole range of possible outcomes and then make better decisions. Now, the reason I reached you is because since the beginning of my career in this area, I understood very clearly that having a fantastic tool was not enough to guarantee better decision making. Then I started to see that there were at least two dimensions, the people dimension and the methodologies dimensions, that are as or even more important than the tool itself. So how we decide, how do we think, how do we behave is what drives the interest in your field and made me get in touch with you to discuss these incredible topics that I am amazed I'm learning every day. Melina, why don't you tell us a little bit what are the different disciplines that converge or are the basis of behavioral sciences? It's a group of things, right?
Exactly. So let me just say that I'm very happy that you reached out, and I'm super excited to meet professionals like yourself coming from such hardcore industries, right? Like oil and gas, and trying to improve decision making within such giants, but also within smaller companies with tools that we always need tools, right? I mean, we cannot just stay in the theory. So I think it's perfect what you said, that we need the tools in combination with the understanding of how to use them right. So behavioral sciences, I mean, um, draws very much from cognitive and social psychology, or sociology, if you like, about things like how we think, fast and slow, which is what Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel laureate, described in a friendly way in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. So we have two ways of thinking, very different, and we can understanding these ways and the biases that creep, especially into our automatic mode, is very important in order to try and mitigate some of them. So, from sociology and psychology, so we have the way that we think, the way that we are influenced by others, by the culture in an organization, what our bosses think, what our colleagues think, what they usually do. So all these things, all these social norms have an impact on our decisions. And of course, broader motivations, the incentive structure, and our own emotions. Because a big part of good decision making is self awareness and self regulation, to the extent that We can use our emotions as information, for what is happening, but it's not always advisable to act on our emotions, right? So cognitive and social psychology brings the person, if you like, into this array of behavioral sciences. Then, very importantly, we have behavioral economics. Economics, traditional or neoclassical models, portray people as, rational decision makers, but behavioral economics goes past that to show that some of the axioms and some of the assumptions that go into these models are not always correct, because people deviate often from this rational model because of biases, emotions, social influences, a lot of these psychological and sociological reasons. Contribution of behavioral economics, for example, is prospect theory by Kahneman and Tversky, which shows that our willingness to take risks essentially is influenced by the way that the choices are framed, and we are more likely um, to want, if our gain and our losses are of equal value, we are more likely to stay and not risk losing something. So we're a little bit risk averse, if you like, because giving something up is more painful than the pleasure of receiving something. So when behavioral economics is a strong it's a new science in a sense that it has kicked off, let's say, with mostly with around 2010. Since then, we have a lot of behavioral economists springing up in the field, doing experiments and trying to find out more about bias, about how actually people make decisions. Which are affected by, things like temporal dimensions, for example. I much rather, if you offer me 100 euros today or 120 euros in 1 month, let's say, most people, me included, I would say I'll take 100 euros today, even though, waiting 1 more month, I would have gained more. So there is this present bias that we call it, that we value more the present moment, and it shows in a lot of cases um, in the way that we rather enjoy something now than later, in how we procrastinate and we postpone things for later because we want to
Enjoy today.
live the present moment. Yeah. We also have neuroscience, which is much newer because of the technology necessary behind neuroscience, but it has been very useful in exploring the neural mechanisms that underlie behavior and decision making, and to help understand, how the brain processes information, how it regulates emotions, how it responds to external stimuli, and things like that, by seeing which brain regions are activated. And importantly, especially, from the perspective that both you and I look at decision making, we have management science, right? Because we're talking about decision making mostly in organizations. And so management science helps, to understand how to optimize organizational processes, improve team dynamics, employee motivation, productivity, performance, and all these things. So there's a science on its own, combined with all the other elements that we saw. It can be tweaked and improved to help the organization and group decision making get better. So, in brief, this is what behavioral science encompasses.
A lot of things, all fundamental. And yeah, I agree with your initial comment when you started this vlog, saying about the beauty of combining the hard and the soft aspects. And I could tell you from my own experience that yes, there is a reluctancy to admit that we might be biased, that we might have wrong or non-positive behaviors that could affect our decision-making process. It's a question maybe of arrogance, a lack of humbleness. I'm not sure, but I can tell you from my own experience that usually when things got wrong, there was not the tool that got wrong. The tool is powerful. It has been proof tested, but we as humans and our interactions many times play as against our truly objectives. So I can understand, and I can easily see all the value that can bring the combination and this holistic views of all the elements you have just described. Now, in your opinion, inside an organization, is this topic, is this challenge and the solutions we are proposing, is something that can be seen at certain levels in the organization? Is this something that just the CEO will be able to understand? Because we are sure we can create additional value, but these are very important things. But this also requires commitment and to have a champion inside an organization. So, what is your reflection on that?
Yeah, so I mean, we would expect that it should be everyone, right? It should, because it's valuable for everyone. But from my experience, it's much, the people who usually act as champions for this are the people who will ask this for others, because it's much easier to spot, the mistakes that other people make, that rather than our own, for all the reasons that you mentioned. So, in my experience, it's either the CEO or the HR department, because I deal with trainings also, and it's oftentimes that I talk, because the HR is usually the people who are responsible for training and development. So when I present this to them, um, they usually embrace it. Yes, we need more critical thinking. We need more accountability. Yes, we need these things. So it's usually, easier to recognize it when yourself is not included in this group. But I would also say that because behavioral science, decision making is not just how we do it; it's how everybody does it. So it's useful when you want your users, your customers, to do something that they are not doing. Either, to buy more, or, if you want to take them down a certain path. So the marketing department, or, the people, who are responsible for promoting or setting up some kind of services, may also be interested in learning more about decision making.
Absolutely. Is it possible to predict? You talk about human resources, and yeah, I also agree that they play a fundamental role in the success of an organization, because they are somehow the custodians of the culture. And is it possible for them, in your understanding, to predict how people will behave in order to develop them, to enhance those skills? Or is this something that is so natural, so intrinsical, that can hardly be modified? And you will say, well, rather than trying to improve the behaviors of A or B, let's just promote or hire C or D. How does it work?
That's a very good question. Another one. Well, I will start from like a fundamental problem that I think you will agree with me that we see in organizations, because you mentioned measure. But the thing is, oh, sorry, you mentioned prediction, but the thing is, to predict, you have to measure
Yeah.
the right thing, right? And usually, what we do badly is, we measure input, and we say that it's output. So we may measure how many hours someone is present in the office, and we say this, he's a high performer, or he's devoted, he's doing well, but um, that's that's not the right thing to measure. Um, is it possible to measure, these behaviors? It's possible to measure them better for sure. I don't think it's possible to measure them perfectly, but right now, according to a Gallup study that I had discovered some time ago, is that from the people that get promoted to management position, 8 out of 10 do not have the skills for the job. 8 out of 10. And what does a manager need to do? Okay, many things, motivate, be accountable, build relationships, but also make good decisions, right?
Right.
And the vast majority are not skilled for the job, which tells us that we're doing it somehow wrong at the moment, because first of all, there's no even though it's getting better, but there's no real training to help people bring the behavioral sciences into their work, which helps a lot with making better decisions, um, and the rest of it, building motivation and nurturing relationships. So behavioral science is still new; it hasn't reached management training yet. And so it's most of the managers that we promote are not ready or equipped to do that job.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
what is your experience on that? I mean, don't know if you agree.
Yes, I agree with you. And from what I have seen, some of the companies are recognizing that there is a difference between the managerial capabilities or potential of individuals versus their experience in the field. So now some of the companies said, well, you can make a whole career in the company as a subject matter expert because you will know a lot of whatever your field is, whether it's engineering or finance or chemistry or whatever. But you will never be able to become a fully proficient manager. Therefore, there is a different career which is managerial, is specialized in managing people without the requirement of being an expert on that particular activity. And there is a company, oil and gas company, that went one step forward. They created the career of professional decision makers. So Chevron was the first company to say, we need to develop a group of people that will be experts in making decisions. They will not know about a specific subject or project, but they will be deployed in that specific project or business unit to help with the process of the decision making. And
This is amazing. Yeah, this
yeah,
is amazing. And this is what the U.S. government is doing. They have a unit. They have, I think, about 200 decision scientists who are dispersed in different departments, and they are not experts, but they help people structure the decisions in the right way, which can only bring so much value.
yeah, just the only thing of just the thing of being impartial to a certain way and to be looking at the picture from a different perspective. Uh, with some distance, that is indeed already a benefit. I'm looking at the watch. We are running out of time. The subject is fascinating, and I hope this won't be the last interview. I hope we can continue working more on this because there are so many things to talk about. But let me please use the last minutes to ask you if you can share with us some of the typical activities you or your company have designed, how this theory, everything we have been talking about, translate into practice. Somebody hires you, and what happens next?
Okay. So first of all, yeah, it's like you say, it's a topic that it's very hard to exhaust or get deep into in 30 minutes. So yeah, well, we do training, consulting, and research basically. So training, I think it's very important to train people for how to make good decisions, because we shouldn't assume that they know. We don't have decision education at school. We rarely have it. Very few universities have it. So and it's not something that our mind picks up, like learning to speak. It's something that it's a skill that we need to develop. So decision training, it's something that um, uh, we feel very strongly about, and I collaborate with different organizations to provide such training to um, to employees. Um, I also do some consulting work with the government in Cyprus, where we help them uh, solve problems, which is another aspect of decision making. And it's very interesting because we work with them to improve their thinking process and to get to better and more economical solutions. And also, I do research and various initiatives with the Alliance for Decision Education and the Global Association of Applied Behavioral Scientists to promote decision making and decision savvy. You want to professionals across the world. Um, yes, this is what we do in a nutshell. And it's, in particular, like tools like dScerner are very useful because you can have the capability, the knowledge of how to improve your decisions, but you also need to have the opportunity, and the opportunity comes from templates, practical frameworks, and practical tools like dScerner, where people can actually have a structured way to follow to get to better decisions.
I believe it's a great combination if people can learn how to decide, and then after that they can go up to a pilot project, for instance, and apply the learnings together with a tool that helps them to quantify, for instance, design strategies, compare it, and so forth. So we're really running out of time. I want to thank you again very much. When we publish the video, I'll make sure that we put all the links that can provide our viewers to your website. You have a great newsletter that I'm recommending to my network because it has a lot of knowledge and it's written in a very friendly, understandable way. So that is a must. Thank you so much, Melina.
Thank you, Eduardo. It was a pleasure talking to you.
A pleasure. Take care. Have a nice day. And let's make
Thank
good
you.
decisions. Bye.
Bye bye.